Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and I was always told out of Voice Radio, so today I am showing you a new Tapu Bulu card coming out in the Pokemon trading card game in Sun and Moon 7A. Thunderclap Spark, you see, ladies and gentlemen. The whole set has just been leaked over on the official Japanese Pokemon card website. So I did what I tend to do in these situations. I got in touch with a lovely David Hochmann. I was like, David, tell me what Tapu Bulu does. That would be lovely. And of course, David Hochmann, being a lovely man, got back in touch and was like, hey Ross, this is what Tapu Bulu does. So thank you to David Hochmann for being a lovely man. Now, in terms of the basics here, Tapu Bulu has 130 HP. This means that it can take a hit from Zoroark GX, for instance, which of course is very important. It means something like a Golisopod that just became active won't be getting a KO with first impression. It means a Silvally will not be getting a one-hit KO. Put very bluntly, it's a lot better than 120. Retreat cost to 1 is annoying because it means you don't get free retreat with escape board post-rotation, which I imagine a lot of people will be playing. And annoyingly, unlike the GX, we do have a weakness here. It's a weakness to fire, and honestly, I don't really mind. Fire decks are just not particularly big at the moment, and as I always say, the main one that is Ho-Oh, maybe even Turtonator. Both of those are going to KO you pretty gosh darned easily anyway, so don't worry your pretty little head about it. And being a grass Pokemon means you can use Ether Paradise Conservation Area to give yourself a little more bulk. I mean, it's way too vulnerable to Field Blower or your opponent playing a Stadium. They can bump the Stadium and then do the damage. It's in their control. I'm not a fan of it, but it remains a possibility, and I'd like to mention it. And you can always use the promo Lapras here to do a little bit of extra damage, but most people have found over the past couple of, months to be honest, maybe even a year, that the promo Lapras just isn't particularly useful. People aren't using it. Hey ho, nothing we can do about it. But it is the attacks that we are most worried about here. And the first attack is a pretty good one. Grass Colorless Energy, 20 damage, times the number of bench Pokemon that your opponent has. It's basically, it's kind of like Dangerous Rogue. Although obviously not quite as powerful, because if it was quite as powerful, that would be ridiculous. But this is still a very, very nice attack indeed. And one thing I need to mention right at the beginning here, it's for a grass and a colorless energy. It's counter energy. This is counter energy fodder if I've ever seen counter energy fodder. This, ladies and gentlemen, is wunderbar. You pop one counter energy on here and you're ready to go. Now, when I mention counter energy here, you're going to have to get used, I'm afraid, to me using counter gain. Counter gain, if you attach it to a tool, you attach it to a Pokemon and it costs one colorless less, so that means that this attack could be used for one grass energy. And primarily here, we need to be thinking about this in glowing terms if we're hitting for weakness. Because there's a whole bunch of stuff that's weak to grass that's absolutely relevant at the moment. We have got Lapras. We have got Lycanroc. There are some good Pokemon weak to grass at the moment. And you'll be getting a one-hit KO fairly easily. Now, Lycanroc's got 200 HP, but Lapras has got 190, but since you're hitting kind of in doubles anyway with weakness, it's basically like 200 HP. Which, with weakness, means you need to be hitting 100 damage. So, if you can have your opponent with 4 bench Pokemon, you'll be doing 80. And then with a choice band, that'll go up to 110, 220 with weakness. If they've only got 3 bench Pokemon, you'll only do 180. You'll actually miss the KO on both of them, which is a little bit annoying. But as long as your opponent has 4 bench Pokemon out, you're getting a one-hit KO here. And here's the thing, and this is what is so gosh darned important about this. It's for counter energy. When the rotation hit, we lost some good counter energy Pokemon. We are losing, I should say. We're losing Cobalion, which sucks because it's a really good Pokemon. We're losing Sudowoodo, which sucks because it's a really good Pokemon. But now, we're getting a grass Pokemon with counter energy like we've never had. At the moment, I mean, what I always tell people is, you know what, with counter energy, Shaman from Shining Legends. It does, decent damage. It does 120 if you had a Pokemon KO'd the previous turn. But with counter energy, you've got to be behind on prizes and you've got to have had a Pokemon KO'd the previous turn. That, ladies and gentlemen, is not the easiest thing to pull off. It's not as reliable as this Tapu Bulu. Now, to be fair, Tapu Bulu needs 4 bench Pokemon on your opponent's side to get a KO. Shaman doesn't, but it's also got 20 more HP, which will mean that, as I said at the beginning of the video, it's going to miss a lot of these key KOs that it would otherwise have to absorb. But then again, Shaman's got a retreat cost of 1, so it can use a skateboard. I'm not saying it's demonstratively a million times better than Shaman, but I am saying that if you're down, say, your opponent's taken 4 prizes, you've done 0, well, your Tapu Bulu here could knock off 2 GX KOs in a row with counter energy, get yourself back in the game. Shaman would have a much, much more difficult time. I adore this for counter energy. Now, I've been focusing on hitting weakness and using it in a counter energy style deck. You don't have to be hitting for weakness here. If you're not hitting for weakness, your opponent has a full bench, you do 100. So it's not really, without weakness, it's not really ever adding up to exactly what you might like. You add a choice band and it goes up to 130, and if you pop a couple of the promo Lurantis down, then of course you can then do 170 and KO a Tapu Lele. You put 3 down, you're then hitting 190, getting a KO on something like a Buzzwole. Put completely bluntly, if you're not hitting for weakness, this attack doesn't do enough damage. So use it in a counter energy deck to be hitting for weakness. The second attack, grass, colourless, 120, flip a coin. If tails, it does 30 to itself. This is less good. I'm less enamoured with this attack. Good news is you could use a combination of counter gain and counter energy here. And then you would potentially be able to just do this for a single energy attachment again, so it's not all a complete loss. But that third energy really does stick in my craw a little bit. The fact that you need the counter gain and the counter energy, it's just a little bit too rich for my blood. The good news is 120 will very easily get a one-hit KO on stuff that's weak. And to be honest, we have the odd thing like Metagross that's up at 250 HP. Anything else, when it's weak, you'll be hitting 240 and getting a one-hit KO. Obviously, Metagross isn't weak to grass. I don't think we've got a 250 HP Pokemon that's weak to grass at the moment. If I am wrong about that, that's where the comment section is for, so do go nuts and be nice down there. It's nice that if your opponent is really controlling their bench, you whack a third energy on and then you're hitting. And you are hitting the numbers. Lapras is going down, Lycanroc's going down. You're still not hitting the numbers on stuff that isn't weak, though. Because once again, you add a choice band, you're up to 150. Well, there's Marshadow GX. And I know there's some cool stuff you can do in Expanded. I showed you a video from Japan's National Championships, or a video about a deck from Japan's National Championships, which was Marshadow Milotic, which was good. But it's kind of a fun little expanded deck with all the tricks. Marshadow's not seeing any play in Standard, which means you need better ways to do that extra damage, and Lurantis isn't good enough. Fighting Pokemon have Diancie Prism Star, that's proven to be good enough. Electric decks are going to have Electro Power, does 30 more for all your Lightning Pokemon that turn, and I feel very confident that that will be proven to be good enough. But honestly here, I don't think that this attack does enough damage. I don't think this attack is particularly good enough. And it's a shame, but I just don't think it's good enough. But that's okay, because the first attack is great. It's not that great if you're not hitting for weakness, but then again, the Lycanroc from Forbidden Light isn't that great if you're not hitting for weakness. But you use it to hit for weakness. And now Lycanroc actually is slightly better because it's 20 plus, 20 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, whereas Tapu Bulu is very clearly 20 times, but then again, Lycanroc is a stage 1, Bulu is a stage 2. Side note, I finally decided a little while ago, it took a lot of deliberation, Tapu Bulu is my favourite of the Alolan Guardians, Tapu Bulu number 1. Although if you want to argue about that, argue in the comment section. I'm giving this between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That, my friends, would be barbaric. It's not an amazing card in and of itself, but in terms of a card that you can use with counter energy to hit for grass weakness, Yeah, let's do it. Potentially viable Tapu Bulu card. I love Tapu Bulu. The first attack looked kind of interesting with a 20 times in use of counter energy. Cheers to David for clearing up that it was in fact a little bit useful. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to hear from you. I want to know what you think about Tapu Bulu. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter, otherwise, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.